Long before European banks existed, African merchants were running the world's most sophisticated money systems. In the legendary city of Timbuktu, a German explorer named Heinrich Barth discovered something extraordinary in 1853. People were using 4 different types of money at the same time. Pre-colonial Africa operated sophisticated monetary systems that challenged conventional assumptions about the continent's economic history. Archaeological and historical records document over 50 distinct currency types across pre-colonial Africa. Cowry shells, Monetaria moneta and Monetaria annulus, dominated West African commerce for nearly a millennium. The Maldive Islands served as the primary source, with shells transported via Indian Ocean trade networks to Red Sea ports, then overland to West Africa. The scale of cowry importation was massive. Between the 16th and 19th centuries, an estimated 25 billion cowry shells entered West African markets. Cowries functioned as small denomination currency, facilitating everyday market transactions. Their durability, uniform size, and difficulty to counterfeit made them ideal for commerce. Archaeological excavations at sites like Begho in Ghana have recovered thousands of cowry shells, confirming their widespread use in inland trading centers. The shell's distribution patterns reveal sophisticated trade networks, extending from coastal ports to interior markets hundreds of kilometers inland. The Akan peoples of modern Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire developed the most sophisticated indigenous weighing system in pre-colonial Africa. Archaeological surveys have documented over 4 million brass weights produced between 1400 and 1900 CE. These weights, known as abramuel, enabled precise measurement of gold dust for commercial transactions. The system operated on multiple weight standards simultaneously. Statistical analysis of museum collections reveals that geometric weights cluster around specific values, indicating standardized production methods and quality control. Wealthy Akan merchants owned collections exceeding 100 weights, with some documented sets containing over 200 pieces. Each weight corresponded to specific values within a complex mathematical system. The smallest weights measured fractions of grams, while the largest reached several hundred grams. This precision enabled transactions involving minute quantities of gold dust, facilitating both local market purchases and international trade. The weights themselves became artistic expressions, with figurative examples depicting proverbs, animals, and everyday objects. However, geometric weights comprised approximately 67% of total production, with figurative weights representing 33%. This ratio suggests that functional considerations outweighed aesthetic concerns in most commercial contexts. Ethiopia's Amol salt bars represent one of Africa's most documented traditional currencies. Mined from the Danakil Depression's salt lakes, these bars served as legal tender for taxes, fines, and commercial transactions from at least 600 CE until the mid-20th century. Quantitative data from 1903 reveals the currency's economic significance. Ethiopian tax authorities collected amols worth 907,000 birr, representing 27% of total government revenue that year. This percentage demonstrates salt currency's integration into state fiscal systems, contradicting assumptions about primitive monetary arrangements. Transportation costs significantly affected amole values. The amole system operated on standardized dimensions. Standard bars measured approximately 25 to 30 centimeters in length, with consistent width and thickness. Iron currencies across the so-called sub-Saharan Africa demonstrate the metal's intrinsic value in agricultural and military contexts. The Kizi people of Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea used iron rods called kisi pennies, gwenze, koli, or kilindi, measuring approximately 30 centimeters in length with distinctive T-shaped ends. Archaeological evidence indicates iron currency production required significant technological investment. Smelting operations consume substantial fuel resources and skilled labor. The resulting currency forms often exceeded practical tool requirements, with some ceremonial pieces reaching human height. These oversized examples served as wealth displays and status symbols, rather than functional implements. The Nkuchu people of the Democratic Republic of Congo produced oshele, throwing knife-shaped currencies that represented the highest denomination in their regional monetary system. Hungarian ethnographer Emil Torde documented these pieces in the 1920s, noting their role in elite transactions and tribute payments. The complex forging process required mastersmiths to create 3 separate components, then forge weld them into the final form. Iron currency distribution patterns reveal extensive trade networks. Kisi pennies have been recovered from archaeological sites hundreds of kilometers from production centers, indicating their acceptance across ethnic and political boundaries. Exchange rates varied by region and period, but the currencies maintained value stability over centuries. The Axumite Empire's minted coinage represents Africa's earliest documented state-controlled monetary system. Beginning under King Ndubisi around 270 to 300 CE, Axum produced gold, silver, and copper coins, facilitating integration into Mediterranean trade networks. Early coins featured so-called pagan symbols, disc and crescent, reflecting South Arabian religious influences. King Ezana's conversion to Christianity around 340 to 356 CE triggered a dramatic symbolic shift, with crosses replacing so-called pagan imagery. This change aligned Axumite currency with Christian trading partners, particularly Byzantium. Coin production statistics indicate substantial minting operations. Archaeological excavations have recovered hundreds of Axumite coins from sites across the Horn of Africa and beyond. Finds in India, Sri Lanka, and Southern Arabia confirm the currency's international acceptance. The coin's metallurgical analysis reveals consistent gold purity standards, indicating quality control mechanisms. Axumite coins carried inscriptions in both Greek and Ge'ez scripts, demonstrating the kingdom's multilingual administrative capacity. Greek inscriptions targeted international merchants, while Ge'ez served domestic markets. This bilingual approach reflects sophisticated understanding of different user communities and their linguistic preferences. The Swahili city-states developed independent monetary systems, integrating local and international elements. Kilwa became the first sub-Saharan African polity to mint gold coins after Aksum's decline. Excavations have uncovered local gold coins alongside Chinese copper cash, Islamic silver dirhams, and Indian Ocean trade goods. Pre-colonial African currencies operated within complex exchange networks that facilitated interregional trade. Archaeological evidence reveals standardized conversion rates between different monetary systems, indicating sophisticated economic integration across vast distances. The trans-Saharan trade routes connected West African gold-producing regions with North African and Mediterranean markets. Until the lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. When Heinrich Barth arrived in Timbuktu on September 7, 1853, he entered a world where money told stories in 4 different languages. The German explorer, exhausted from months of Saharan travel, soon discovered that surviving in this legendary city required mastering an intricate dance of currencies that would challenge even the most experienced merchant. Barth's first harsh lesson in Timbuktu's monetary complexity came when the Niger's waters rose in January 1854, bringing the first boats from Kabara to the city walls. The arrival of these vessels transformed the grain market overnight. Local residents celebrated as millet prices plummeted. A small measure now cost merely 40 cowry shells, while a sunia weighing over 200 pounds sold for 3,000 shells, equivalent to $1 Spanish dollar. But Barth's joy at the prospect of cheaper provisions quickly soured when he approached the grain sellers. While I myself, as a foreigner and a stranger, had to pay 3,750, he recorded with evident frustration. The 750 shell markup at 25% foreigners' tax taught him that in Timbuktu's markets, your origin determined your price as much as supply and demand. Months later, during his return journey, Barth encountered the market town of Lamiso, where a bustling marketplace displayed the region's agricultural wealth. Corn, cotton, beans, dodowa, dried fish, and indigo created a colorful selection of commerce. Here, Barth made one of his most significant purchases, a pack ox for 10,000 cowry shells. This transaction reveals the practical mathematics of West African commerce. At Timbuktu's exchange rates, 10,000 shells represented approximately 2.5 mithqals of gold, a substantial sum that reflected both the animal's value and the complex calculations merchants performed daily. The ox would carry Barth's remaining possessions across hundreds of miles, making it literally a beast of burden, purchased with thousands of tiny shells that had traveled from the Indian Ocean. Perhaps no commodity better illustrated Timbuktu's monetary sophistication than the kola nut trade. Barth observed that these prized stimulants varies from 10 to 100 shells each, a tenfold price range that reflected quality, seasonality, and market conditions. The nuts arrived from distant forests after perilous journeys, their prices fluctuating wildly based on caravan timing and nut quality. During religious festivals, Barth witnessed wealthy merchants distributing kola nuts as alms, a practice that transformed currency into charity. A single premium nut worth 100 shells could feed a family for days, yet the wealthy scattered them like coins to demonstrate their prosperity. Barth's most revealing monetary observation concerned the cloth trade from Kano, which forms the general medium of exchange for salt transactions. This created a 3-way currency relationship where Hausa cloth served as the bridge between Saharan salt and local cowry shells. Merchants arriving from the south carried bolts of cotton fabric that they exchanged for salt blocks, which they then converted to cowries for local purchases. The complexity of these exchanges required merchants to maintain running calculations across multiple currency systems. A bolt of Kano cloth might purchase several salt bars, which could then be subdivided and sold for thousands of cowry shells, which finally enabled the purchase of provisions, animals, or luxury goods. Each conversion involved negotiation, quality assessment, and market timing. Barth's most personal monetary crisis occurred when his headman, Ali El-Agaran, demanded immediate payment of his 111-unit salary while they were still in Timbuktu. The explorer found himself financially trapped, forced to request that Sidi Ali advanced the payment on his behalf. "This man had cost me very dear," Barth lamented, revealing how employment contracts in Timbuktu operated across multiple currency systems. The incident exposed the vulnerability of long-distance travelers who carried wealth in forms that might not be readily convertible. Barth's remaining servants, owed nearly 200 units collectively, agreed to wait for payment until they reached Kukawa, a decision that reflected both loyalty and the practical difficulties of currency conversion in remote locations. Even simple transactions carried monetary lessons. When Barth ventured to observe the Niger's flood levels, he discovered that being obliged not only to be armed myself, but also to have an armed servant with me, created additional costs beyond the obvious expense of weapons and guards. The sight of an armed European inflamed local merchants, particularly the Moroccan trader Abd Salam, who complained that such displays violated local customs. Throughout his Timbuktu sojourn, Barth learned that successful commerce required constant mental arithmetic across 4 currency systems. A merchant might receive payment in gold dust, convert it to cowry shells for daily expenses, accept cloth in partial payment for goods, and use salt bars for regional trade. Each transaction demanded knowledge of current exchange rates, quality assessments, and market conditions. The German explorers' detailed observations reveal a monetary system of remarkable sophistication where currencies complemented rather than competed with each other. Gold dust handled large transactions and international trade. Cowry shells facilitated daily commerce. Cloth served as a portable store of value, and salt bars connected regional markets. Together, they created a financial ecosystem that supported one of Africa's greatest commercial centers. Barth's monetary adventures in Timbuktu demonstrate that pre-colonial African commerce operated with a complexity that European visitors often underestimated. His careful documentation of prices, exchange rates, and commercial practices provides a window into an economic world where multiple currencies dance together in an intricate ballet of trade, survival, and prosperity. African currencies played crucial roles in state formation and political development. Control over currency production and exchange provided rulers with significant economic leverage. The Ghana Empire's dominance over trans-Saharan trade routes derived partly from its control over gold production and salt distribution networks. Tax collection systems incorporated traditional currencies alongside newer forms. Ethiopian records show Amol salt bars comprising substantial portions of state revenue well into the 20th century. This integration demonstrates how traditional monetary systems adapted to changing political structures while maintaining economic relevance. Currency standardization facilitated market expansion and economic specialization. The Akan gold weight system enabled precise transactions that supported craft specialization and long-distance trade. Similar standardization processes occurred across the continent, creating economic foundations for political centralization and state development.